With these incredibly powerful forelimbs, it would pull down its prey before dispatching it with these terrifying teeth.
Our planet is currently experiencing mass extinction, mainly due to human activities. Shockingly, over 20% of the world's species are at risk of extinction, and this number could skyrocket to 50% by the century's end if we don't take action. Fortunately, extinction might not be as final as we once believed. Thanks to endless research and scientific advancements, we now have the potential to bring back some long-lost species. This development could transform the world and expand our knowledge of ancient creatures. Join us as we explore 15 extinct animals that might walk the earth once more. Number 15. Saber-toothed tiger. These formidable predators earned their name from their enormous upper canine teeth, which reached an astonishing 11 inches in length. The big cats once roamed North and South America during the Pleistocene, but sadly went extinct around 10,000 years ago, likely due to a mix of environmental changes, dwindling prey, and of course human influence. Despite their imposing size, about 5 feet long and weighing up to 620 pounds, and those razor-sharp fangs, saber-toothed tigers disappeared right around the time when humans were making significant advancements in hunting technology. While they might not have been hunted for food, it's possible they were killed for sport using primitive projectile weapons. Over the years, scientists have discovered saber-toothed skeletons and fossils, notably in places like the Labrador tar pits in North America, providing more insights into these impressive creatures. We now know they were large cats with short limbs and are believed to have been similar in size to modern African lions. Despite their name, saber-toothed tigers weren't actually related to the tigers we find today. Their closest living relative might be the clouded leopard, the only modern carnivores with cranial features that come close to those impressive saber-tooth proportions. The idea of bringing these creatures back isn't far-fetched. If we discover better preserved specimens frozen in Siberian permafrost, they could yield the DNA needed for genome sequencing and possible revival. In case you were unaware, a genome is like an organism's complete set of genetic instructions, essentially the blueprint for creating and growing it. However, the real challenge would be identifying a suitable living relative to serve as a successful substitute for the hybrid genome. There are also questions about if there would be any real gain from resurrecting these Ice Age predators. It wouldn't make sense to bring back a species just to keep it confined in a zoo forever, or introduce a new, more dangerous predator that could harm existing species. Therefore, whether the world is ready to encounter saber-toothed tigers once more remains uncertain. But it has shown us that extinction doesn't always mean the final chapter. Number 14. The dodo. The dodo bird has become a symbol of extinction, partly due to its rapid decline and somewhat quirky appearance. The bird is bigger than a turkey, around 50 pounds, with bluish-gray feathers, a big head, comically useless wings, and sturdy yellow legs. These flightless birds were found in Mauritius, and Portuguese sailors first saw them around 1507. Sadly, invasive species gobbled up their food and young, leading to their extinction in the late 17th century. It's shocking how quickly they vanished after sailors settled on their island. But now extinction might not always mean forever. Revive and Restore, an organization focused on genetically rescuing extinct and endangered species, got interested in this bird. However, finding its DNA proved extremely tough. All that's left of the dodo are a head and a foot in Oxford, a foot in the British Museum, a head in Copenhagen, and mostly complete skeletons scattered across museums in Europe, the United States, and Mauritius. Then, in 2016, a game-changing moment happened. Beth Shapiro, an evolutionary biologist at the University of California, revealed that they'd sequenced the entire genome of the extinct dodo bird. They used the genome of the Nicobar pigeon, the dodo's closest living relative, as a model. It's speculative for now, but the idea of bringing back the dodo doesn't seem as far-fetched as it once did. The dodo's revival could be closer than we think. Number 13. Siberian unicorn. The Siberian unicorn is a fascinating creature that, despite its name, had very little in common with the mythical unicorn. Unlike the dainty, horned horse of legends, this real-life giant roamed the grasslands of Eurasia and tipped the scales at a whopping 4 tons. It looked more like a massive, hairy rhinoceros than anything else. Over the years, bits and pieces of Siberian unicorn bones surfaced, but they were tricky to analyze. For instance, a skull discovered in Kazakhstan back in 2016 was radiocarbon dated to around 29,000 years ago. However, the result was deemed unreliable due to the scarcity of collagen. However, everything changed in 2018 when scientists successfully analyzed the mysterious giant's DNA for the first time. Originally thought to have gone extinct between 200,000 and 100,000 years ago, radiocarbon dating of 23 bone specimens revealed that the Siberian unicorn survived until a mere 36,000 years ago, sharing the Earth with our early human ancestors. Oddly enough, humans probably weren't responsible for their extinction. Instead, evidence points to the fact that this sturdy beast may have met its demise due to its incredibly selective eating habits. The creature lumbered around and munched on tough, dry grasses. When a significant climate change rolled in, prompting other herbivores to adapt and diversify their diets, the Siberian unicorn stuck to its grassy guns. It kept grazing on dwindling grass, even as the encroaching permafrost added to its challenges. DNA analysis also unveiled that the Siberian unicorn didn't have close ties to modern rhinos, as many believed. Instead, it belonged to a unique lineage that branched off from the one leading to modern rhinos over 40 million years ago. Scientists are now hoping that understanding more about the extinction of these magnificent creatures can help us protect the planet's remaining rhinos. With just 5 rhinoceros species left, and these animals being quite particular about their habitats, there's cause for concern. The Siberian unicorn's story highlights how even minor shifts in vegetation can wipe out an entire species, and this was long before humans started impacting ecosystems. Unfortunately, we've never found complete Siberian unicorn specimens, and we're still in the dark about the size of its horn because none have been discovered. However, a portion of the skull where the horn would have grown suggests it could have been up to a meter long. The extent of what we can learn about these creatures depends on how much DNA we can recover. If we ever stumble upon a perfectly preserved specimen, like the woolly mammoth frozen in ice, scientists might unlock the genetic secrets that could eventually lead to its resurrection. Number 12. The woolly mammoth. Woolly mammoths were incredible creatures with huge fangs and thick winter coats, and they could weigh up to 6 tons. Sadly, these creatures went extinct thousands of years ago. But there's a fascinating twist to their story. While we used to think these giants disappeared during the last ice age, a recent discovery revealed that a small group of around 500 to 1,000 woolly mammoths actually survived on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean until just 4,000 years ago. Unlike today's elephants, which live in places like the African savannas and Asian jungles, woolly mammoths roamed the tundra, spanning northern Asia, parts of Europe, and North America. Their small ears, short tails, and thick fur helped them thrive in the cold. It's believed that these majestic creatures vanished as the climate warmed and their food sources changed. Unfortunately, human overhunting might have played a role too. However, scientists are working on the possibility of bringing woolly mammoths back to life. Some well-preserved mammoth remains have been found frozen in Siberian permafrost, and they might hold the key to this revival. Thanks to advances in selective breeding, genetics, and reproductive cloning, this is becoming more plausible. Scientists can isolate DNA from mammoth remains and edit and insert specific traits into other animals. Asian elephants, the mammoth's closest living relatives, could potentially host these edited genes. This approach wouldn't create exact copies of woolly mammoths, but rather modern versions adapted for the far north with shorter ears and shaggy coats. Bringing back the woolly mammoth could have significant environmental benefits. Scientists like George Church from Harvard believe mammoths could help convert the Arctic tundra into Ice Age-era grasslands. These ancient giants maintained grasslands by knocking down trees and spreading grass seeds in their dung. This kept the ecosystem healthy and prevented the release of harmful carbon dioxide from melting permafrost. Russian geophysicist Sergei Zimov's research supports this idea, showing that reintroducing grazing animals can transform tundra into grasslands. With a herd of mammoths involved, the results could be remarkable. In 2017, Church suggested that the de-extinction might happen within a couple of years, while Dr. Tom Ellis from Imperial College London thinks it could take at least a decade. Progress is ongoing, though. Japanese scientists even managed to revive cells from a 28,000-year-old mammoth in 2019. Number 11. Irish elk. As one of the largest deer species ever recorded, the Irish elk is known for its astonishingly massive antlers that could stretch up to 12 feet wide. These magnificent creatures once roamed across Eurasia primarily during the Pleistocene epoch. Their latest known remains date back to around 7,700 years ago. Interestingly, the name Irish elk doesn't mean they were exclusive to Ireland. They were named that because some remarkably well-preserved fossils of the elks have been discovered in the country. As permafrost in Siberia continues to thaw, more and more Irish elk carcasses are emerging, potentially providing scientists with a chance to collect their DNA and explore the possibility of cloning or other revival methods. There are a couple of theories explaining their disappearance. One suggests that their antlers became so massive and unwieldy that they became challenging to manage, possibly leading to their extinction. Another theory revolves around climate change. As temperatures increased, these creatures might have struggled to adapt to the hotter conditions. Considering the current state of our planet, with less wild land for animals to roam and the rapid pace of climate change, questions have been raised about bringing them back. If we were to revive the Irish elk today, it might need to be under close human supervision, either in a zoo or a controlled laboratory environment. The reality is that the world might not be the ideal place to welcome back such gigantic mammals without careful consideration of their impact on the environment and their ability to thrive in the modern world. Number 10. Passenger pigeon. This was a small gray bird with a pinkish-red breast that used to be incredibly common in North America, but vanished around 1900. Unlike the pigeons we see today, often considered urban pests, these passenger pigeons were once a vital force in shaping the forests they called home. Their numbers were staggering, reaching an astonishing 5 billion in the early 19th century. However, people consumed them in large numbers and hunted them, considering them a threat to agriculture. This was because their massive flocks and frequent droppings were so substantial that they could actually destroy trees and increase forest fires. As European settlers expanded across North America, they reduced and eliminated the vast forests on which the pigeons depended. During a critical period when the pigeons were already on the brink of extinction, a devastating event occurred in 1896, when a single day saw the killing of 250,000 birds, marking the last significant flock. The final wild passenger pigeon was spotted in Louisiana that same year, only to meet a tragic end through hunting. However, there might be hope for reconciliation with these seed-spreading birds. Passenger pigeons were vital to their habitats, so bringing them back could be crucial in restoring their former ecosystems. Ecologist Ben Novak, leading the Passenger Pigeon Project at Revive and Restore, aims to resurrect these birds using their closest living relative, the band-tailed pigeon. Determining how many of their genes need to be swapped is a daunting challenge. Their genomes are about 97% alike, but the remaining 3% has accumulated over millions of years and requires careful examination. Even then, it's a matter of making the hybrid cells develop into a surrogate, hoping the genes cooperate smoothly and bring the bird to life. Number 9. The moa. These incredible creatures met their end in the late 17th century when the Maori people arrived in New Zealand. They were a group of impressive birds, with some reaching up to a towering 12 feet in height and weighing a whopping 510 pounds. To the Maori, moa were easy hunting targets with lots of meat. Habitat loss and other introduced species also played a part in their extinction, though, and after 700 years, scientists are trying to bring them back. Harvard University scientists have made an exciting breakthrough by assembling the first almost complete genome of an extinct moa species, the little bush moa. This little bush moa stood at over 4.3 feet tall and weighed around 66 pounds, heavier than a husky dog. They reconstructed its DNA from the toe bone of a single museum specimen in 2018, opening the door to potentially resurrecting these magnificent birds. The scientists use advanced high-throughput sequencing techniques, allowing them to analyze hundreds of thousands of DNA strands simultaneously. In another related study, they discovered that moas are closest genetically to kiwis, emus, and cassowaries, all of which are still alive today. This connection offers hope for the moa's revival, but it involves some genetic tinkering, transferring the genome into an egg cell of a living species. Interestingly, emus might hold the key, as their 6-inch-long, half-kilogram eggs could be the solution. However, this process is complex in birds. While mammalian cloning techniques like Dolly the sheep have been successful, it's not quite the same for birds. Inspired by recent successes in chickens, one potential solution involves introducing the genome into embryonic cells that eventually become eggs or sperm in wild birds. So, while moas remain in the land of the extinct, it's too early to count them out completely. Science continues to explore the possibility of bringing these incredible birds back to life. Number 8. Caspian tiger. The Caspian tiger was one of the world's largest big cats until it sadly vanished in the 1960s. These species once roamed Turkey and much of Central Asia, including Iran, Iraq, and parts of northwestern China. According to a study from early 2017 published in Biological Conservation, habitat loss and food shortages pushed this species to extinction just a few decades into the 20th century. There's now a fascinating plan in the works to potentially resurrect the Caspian tiger. The idea is to reintroduce it by releasing genetically similar Siberian tigers into areas once inhabited by the Caspian subspecies. According to the researchers, the Siberian tiger's physical traits seem adaptable to the arid conditions of these reintroduction sites. This isn't a quick fix, though. Establishing a sustainable population in the ILI River Delta could take more than a decade, and it is considered the most suitable location for this ambitious endeavor. There, they could prey on wild boar, Bukhara deer, and roe deer. Starting with 40 tigers, the population could grow to 100 over 50 years if everything goes as planned. It's a significant step towards preserving these endangered tigers on our planet. However, there are several implications to consider. Ensuring peaceful coexistence between tigers and humans is a must. Additionally, it's crucial to rebuild prey populations in the region before introducing tigers, a process that might take up to 15 years. Scientists are taking these challenges seriously, and they're beginning to lay out plans in case this remarkable effort comes to fruition. Number 7. Labrador duck. This bird is believed to have vanished in the late 19th century, likely due to human-related causes. Even though it wasn't known for its tasty qualities, this bird was already quite rare when European settlers arrived in North America. The last recorded specimens of this duck were collected during the 1870s. The most recent sighting dates back to 1878 in Elmira, New York. This sea duck was mainly found along the Atlantic coast, stretching from Baltimore to the Chesapeake Bay and Labrador, and rarely ventured inland. So, finding one in Elmira was quite a surprise. As a result, we have limited information about the Labrador duck, with only 55 preserved specimens in museums worldwide. The mystery surrounding their extinction is a real head-scratcher, too. It's possible that they were overhunted for their eggs or driven away from their natural habitat. They might have also fallen victim to the feather trade, but pinpointing the exact cause remains elusive. Some bird enthusiasts hold out hope that the Labrador duck didn't completely disappear and that there might still be some hidden populations out there. However, experts like Brian Fox Ellis believe this bird have truly vanished, and resurrecting it would be incredibly challenging. While there have been rumors about efforts to bring back the Labrador duck, the details remain scarce, so whether this species will ever make a comeback remains a mystery. Number 6. Pyrenean ibex. The bucardo, also known as Pyrenean ibex, was a subspecies of Spanish ibex that sadly became officially extinct in the year 2000. Its demise followed 2 centuries of increased hunting in its habitat. Interestingly, scientists didn't waste much time pondering its revival. In 2009, they embarked on a mission to bring it back, armed with genetic material collected from the frozen skin samples of the last surviving Pyrenean ibex. The brains behind this effort, led by researcher Jose Fulk, used a unique approach. They created cloned embryos by injecting the DNA from the deceased Pyrenean ibex into emptied goat eggs, essentially giving these goat eggs a new genetic identity. Out of the 280 specimens of the Spanish ibex subspecies into which these embryos were implanted, 7 became pregnant, and 1 successfully carried the calf to term. Unfortunately, as experts had anticipated, the newborn didn't survive beyond birth. It succumbed to respiratory failure. While this achievement was hailed as a significant scientific milestone, it's essential not to get overly optimistic about the process. As scientist David Wilt pointed out, even if we could create such embryos, the absence of suitable surrogate mothers for long-extinct species poses a significant hurdle. So, while the Pyrenean ibex's story is fascinating, it's a reminder that reviving ancient creatures is not as straightforward as it might seem. Now it's time for today's subscriber's pick. As we already know, some extinct animals were found in ice or permafrost, and this is a picture of one. Since we've spoken about it, we can easily recognize the animal in ice to be the Siberian unicorn. It's among the dead animals scientists are close to reviving. However, the origin of this picture is unknown, and investigations are ongoing to discover if the whole body of the Siberian unicorn has been found anywhere. If found, it will significantly help scientists to work on the de-extinction of the species and gain more insight into rhinos, as mentioned. It's possible that the complete specimen of the species may still be frozen and undiscovered. Do you think we will be lucky enough to stumble upon a full Siberian unicorn someday? Let's hear your opinion in the comments section. Number 5. Stellar sea cow. Scientist George Wilhelm Steller was the first to describe the stellar sea cow back in 1741 during a voyage across the Bering Sea. Stranded on a remote island, Steller and his crew stumbled upon colonies of these sea cows, which could reach lengths of up to 25 feet and weigh a staggering 6 tons each. They were closely related to dugongs and manatees. However, within just 27 years of its discovery, this species was completely wiped out due to relentless overhunting. This came after millions of years of being a significant player in its marine ecosystem. The stellar sea cow met its demise in the blink of an eye, right after surviving the Quaternary extinction event at the end of the Pleistocene epoch. Stellar sea cows were exclusively found in the frigid waters of the Arctic, and their rapid extinction served as a stark reminder that human activity could entirely erase a marine species. This raised awareness among scientists and experts about humanity's role in such disappearances. It even prompted some, like science writer Carl Zimmer, to advocate for its potential resurgence. The tricky part is that researchers have limited knowledge about this species. They have to rely on speculation when it comes to understanding its behavior and biology, let alone considering the possibility of bringing it back to life. Number 4. Woolly rhinoceros. These creatures coexisted with woolly mammoths during the Ice Age. Unlike mammoths, woolly rhino remains are rare, leaving scientists with less knowledge about their place in the evolutionary timeline and lifestyles. These rhinos roamed Eurasia for hundreds of thousands of years but disappeared around 14,000 years ago, and the exact reasons for their extinction remain a bit hazy. While researchers have long suspected that factors like overhunting by humans might have played a part in their demise, recent research published in the journal Current Biology suggests that climate change also had a hand in their disappearance. Interestingly, the woolly rhino's extinction coincided with a period of severe warming known as the bowling alley rod interstadial, happening around 16,000 years after humans reached their habitat. Ice sheets melted rapidly during this time, and sea levels rose significantly. It's possible that these rhinos couldn't adapt to the changing tundra climate, making it impossible for them to cross the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia to Alaska, ultimately leading to their extinction. In 2015, a glimmer of hope appeared when a few well-preserved woolly rhino specimens were discovered, including the complete carcass of a 7-month-old woolly rhinoceros named Sasha, found on the frozen bank of a Siberian river. This raised the possibility of collecting genetic material and potentially cloning these extinct creatures. However, it's crucial to understand that the cloning process remains immensely complex and unlikely to happen anytime soon, though not entirely ruled out. Moreover, the woolly rhinoceros lacks any known modern relatives suitable for the de-extinction process. This raises significant ethical dilemmas, sparking debates about whether we should revive long-lost species even if we can. Currently, the survival of our existing rhino species is at a critical juncture, prompting further discussions about the wisdom of bringing back an extinct counterpart. Number 3. Thylacine. Because de-extinction techniques mainly rely on analyzing DNA from well-preserved specimens, they work well on species that went extinct more recently, like the thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger. The thylacine was a fascinating creature with a wolf-like head, distinctive dark stripes along its back, and a long, stiff tail. It called the Australian continent Tasmania and New Guinea home. Mainland Australia lost the thylacine about 3,000 years ago, but it held on in Tasmania until the 20th century. Unfortunately, it was accused of killing sheep, leading to government-sponsored bounties that contributed to its extinction. The last known thylacine was a male at Hobart Zoo in Australia, where it sadly passed away on September 7, 1939. To make matters worse, this last thylacine met a tragic end due to neglect. Locked out of its sheltered space, it endured extreme Tasmanian weather, scorching heat during the day and freezing temperatures at night. With that, the thylacine was gone forever. But here's where it gets interesting. About 750 thylacine specimens are preserved in museums, but most have limited viable DNA. However, 13 pups were taken from their mother's pouches and preserved in ethanol. In 2017, it was revealed that one of these pups, held at the Melbourne Museum, provided high-quality genetic material for sequencing the entire genome. Sequencing a genome is a big deal because it's a crucial step in potentially cloning the thylacine. Cloning might sound impossible, but with scientific advancement, it's not. To clone an extinct animal, we'd extract the nucleus from a preserved cell, swap it into an egg from the animal's closest living relative, and then implant it into a surrogate host. This way, we may be able to get back the thylacine. Number 2. The ground sloth. Ground sloths were fascinating creatures that lived on Earth until about 8,000 years ago. These massive sloths, some as large as bears, roamed various parts of the world, including North and South America. They were herbivores, munching on plants and leaves, and had a slow and lumbering way of life. While the exact reasons for their extinction are still debated among scientists, it's believed to be a combination of factors. Environmental changes and the spread of humans likely played a role. As humans moved into new territories, they may have hunted ground sloths for food, which could have significantly strained their populations. Habitat loss due to these human activities and shifts in climate might have been the final blows that led to their demise. However, scientists are considering bringing back these ground sloths. They've managed to obtain intact DNA samples from these ancient creatures, but there's a catch. Finding a suitable surrogate mother for a cloned baby ground sloth is tricky. You see, the closest living relatives of ground sloths are much smaller, making them unsuitable to carry a bear-sized creature. Therefore, researchers are contemplating using artificial wombs to bring these prehistoric giants back to life. It's a complex and fascinating journey in the world of de-extinction, and we'll be observing the outcome of the idea. Number 1. The gastric brooding frog. Native to eastern Australia, this amphibian was famous for its unique reproductive method. The frogs could give birth through their mouths, which is quite an extraordinary feat in the animal kingdom. Sadly, these remarkable frogs faced a grim fate. They became extinct in the 1980s, and one of the primary culprits was the chytrid fungus. This deadly pathogen infected their skin and disrupted their ability to breathe through it, ultimately leading to their decline. In recent years, scientists embarked on a project known as the Lazarus Project, aptly named after the biblical figure brought back to life. The goal was to try and clone the gastric brooding frog, hoping to create embryos that would survive and develop into tadpoles. The process involved taking preserved genetic material from these extinct frogs and using it to clone new embryos. Though scientists are trying to resurrect these unique frogs, the process is complex, and there are no guarantees of success. Nonetheless, it's a testament to our growing understanding of genetics and the desire to protect and conserve biodiversity. These experiments and research continue to expose us to the advancement of biotechnology. Hopefully, efforts to bring these animals back will succeed, and humans will deal with other animals carefully. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.